Simply Scrum, a practical guide to Agile software development for everyone. Chapter 1, The Agile Revolution, Why We Need Scrum. Imagine you're setting sail on a grand voyage. For centuries, explorers meticulously charted their courses, often planning every detail for months or even years before leaving port. They knew their destination, had maps of the known world, and understood the predictable currents and winds. This was the traditional way of doing things, often called the waterfall approach in the world of project management. A sequential, linear journey where each stage is completed before the next begins. First, you plan the entire ship, then you build it, then you launch it, then you navigate. This approach worked beautifully for specific types of projects, especially those with clear, unchanging requirements and predictable environments, like building a bridge or a skyscraper. You don't want a building changing its blueprint halfway through construction. But what if your destination is a newly discovered, ever-changing archipelago? What if the winds shift unpredictably every few days, new islands emerge, and the very definition of treasure evolves with each new discovery? Suddenly, your meticulously crafted, multi-year plan becomes a hindrance. Waiting to complete the entire ship before testing its seaworthiness means you might discover a fundamental flaw only when it's too late, or that your map is obsolete the moment you launch. This scenario, where plans are quickly outdated and change is the only constant, perfectly encapsulates the modern landscape of software development and increasingly many other industries. In this fast-paced, unpredictable world, the traditional waterfall approach often falls short, leading to missed deadlines, bloated budgets, and products that no longer fit customer needs by the time they're finally delivered. The genesis of Agile, a manifesto for a better way. By the late 1990s, this frustration with rigid, slow-moving development processes reached a boiling point among many software professionals. They saw projects getting bogged down in documentation, endless meetings, and processes that stifled creativity and responsiveness. Developers felt disconnected from their users, and users often received software that was technically perfect but functionally useless. It was against this backdrop that 17 software developers, frustrated with the status quo, converged at a ski resort in Snowbird, Utah, in February 2001. They weren't there to create a new methodology with prescriptive rules. Instead, they aimed to articulate a set of shared values and principles that could guide a more effective, human-centric approach to building software. The outcome was the now famous Agile Manifesto. This brief yet profound document put forth 4 core values: individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. It's crucial to understand the word "over" here. It doesn't mean that processes, tools, documentation, or plans are useless. Rather, it emphasizes a shift in priority. In complex and unpredictable environments, prioritizing individuals and interactions, working software, customer collaboration, and adapting to change leads to better outcomes. It's about valuing the ability to respond to reality over strictly adhering to an outdated plan. This manifesto sparked what became known as the Agile Revolution. Enter Scrum, a leading Agile framework. The Agile Manifesto provided the guiding philosophy, but practitioners still needed practical ways to implement these principles. This is where Scrum comes in. Scrum is not a methodology in the traditional sense, with a grand, detailed roadmap for every step. Instead, it's a lightweight framework that allows individuals and teams to address complex adaptive problems while productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible value. The name Scrum itself has an interesting origin. It was borrowed from a 1986 Harvard Business Review article titled The New Product Development Game by Hirotaka Takeuchi and Ikujiro Nanaka. They described a holistic, cross-functional approach to product development, likening it to the forward-moving Scrum formation in rugby, where a team works together tightly to gain ground. This metaphor perfectly captured the collaborative, self-organizing spirit that Scrum advocates. At its heart, Scrum is built on what's called empirical process control, or empiricism. This means working in a factual, experience-based, and iterative way. You don't try to predict everything up front. Instead, you learn by doing, and you adapt based on what you learn. This empirical approach rests on three pillars: transparency. Everyone involved, the team, stakeholders, customers, has a clear and shared understanding of what's happening, what the current state of the product is, and what challenges exist. Nothing is hidden. Inspection. Periodically checking the progress of the work and the product itself against the desired goal. This isn't about micromanagement, it's about thoughtful, regular assessment. Adaptation. Based on the inspection, making necessary adjustments to the plan, the process, or even the product to optimize outcomes. This is about being agile and responsive. Scrum provides a simple structure of roles, events, and artifacts that embody these values and principles. It defines a minimal set of elements necessary to get started, deliberately leaving out more prescriptive details, allowing teams and organizations to tailor its implementation to their specific context. It's simple to understand, yet often profoundly difficult to master because it demands a fundamental shift in mindset and culture. Why Scrum matters today. More than 2 decades after the Agile Manifesto, and with Scrum itself having evolved since its inception, the need for adaptive approaches has only grown. Here's why Scrum isn't just a buzzword, but a powerful framework for today's world. Faster time to market. By delivering working software in short, regular cycles, which we'll explore in Chapter 4, organizations can get products and features into users' hands much quicker, gaining valuable feedback and adapting rapidly. Imagine a small startup that needed to launch a new mobile app that could help local businesses connect with customers during challenging times. Using a traditional model, they might spend 6 months mapping out every possible feature. With Scrum, they could launch a basic, yet functional, version in just a few weeks, gather user feedback, and then iteratively build out more features based on real-world usage. Higher quality and customer satisfaction. Regular inspection of working software and continuous feedback loops, with customers ensure that the product evolves to meet actual needs, rather than initial assumptions. Problems are identified and fixed early, leading to a more robust and satisfying product overall. Increased team morale and engagement. Scrum empowers teams by giving them autonomy in how they work, fostering a sense of ownership, collaboration, and continuous learning. When teams feel trusted and have a direct impact on the product, motivation soars. Adaptability to change. Scrum is built for change. Instead of resisting it, it embraces it as an inherent part of complex projects. When market conditions shift, customer preferences evolve, or new technologies emerge, Scrum teams are equipped to pivot swiftly and effectively. Scrum, therefore, is not just a methodology for software development. It's a profound way of thinking about work that values collaboration, transparency, and continuous improvement. It's about building the right things and building the things right, even when the goalposts keep moving. As we delve deeper into this book, you'll discover how its straightforward structure can unlock incredible potential for any team striving to navigate complexity and deliver exceptional value. Chapter 2: Unpacking Scrum. Core Principles and Values. In the previous chapter, we established why Scrum emerged as a powerful response to the demands of our unpredictable, fast-paced world. We hinted at its foundation in empiricism and its connection to the Agile Manifesto. Now, let's peel back the layers and examine the fundamental principles and values that truly underpin Scrum, helping us understand how it works and why it's effective. At its core, Scrum is a framework rooted in empirical process control theory, or empiricism. This simply means that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed. Think of it like a chef trying a new recipe. They don't just follow the cookbook blindly. They blend ingredients, taste as they go, and adjust seasonings based on observation and experience. This iterative taste and adjust process is the essence of empiricism. For Scrum, empiricism relies on 3 pillars: transparency, inspection, and adaptation. 2.1 Empiricism, learning by doing. Transparency. This pillar dictates that the significant aspects of the process must be visible to those responsible for the outcome. Put simply, everyone involved, the team, the customers, stakeholders, should have a clear and shared understanding of the current state of the product and the ongoing work. This isn't just about showing progress. It's about making problems, impediments, and assumptions visible. For instance, a clear physical or digital board showing what tasks are to do, in progress, and done ensures everyone sees the workflow. If crucial information is hidden or misunderstood, decisions will be flawed, leading to increased risk and waste. Transparency builds trust and psychological safety. It allows everyone to see what's truly happening, not just what's reported. Inspection, regular and frequent checks of the product increment and the process itself are vital to detect undesirable variances or problems. This is not about micromanagement or finger-pointing. Instead, it's a collaborative assessment. For example, during the daily check-in, what Scrum calls the daily Scrum, team members inspect their progress towards their short-term goal and identify any blockers. At the end of a work cycle, the team and stakeholders inspect the delivered product to ensure it meets expectations and gather feedback. Without regular inspection, deviations from the desired path might go unnoticed until it's too late to correct them easily. Adaptation. When an inspector determines that one or more aspects of a process deviate outside acceptable limits, and the resulting product will be unacceptable, the process or the material being processed must be adjusted. This is where the learning happens. Based on the transparency and the inspection, the team or the organization must be willing and able to change course. If the cooking experiment results in a dish that's too salty, the adaptation is to add less salt next time or balance it with something sweet or acidic. In Scrum, this might involve reprioritizing tasks, changing how the team collaborates, or even adjusting the product's ultimate vision based on new insights. Without adaptation, transparency and inspection are meaningless. They just illuminate problems without solving them. These three pillars work in a continuous loop. Make things transparent, inspect what you see, and adapt based on your findings. This continuous cycle of learning and adjustment is what makes Scrum so powerful in complex environments. 2.2. Iterative and incremental development. Beyond empiricism, Scrum builds products through an iterative and incremental approach. These two concepts are often used together in Scrum, and for good reason. Iterative. This refers to the cyclical nature of development in Scrum. Instead of one long, linear project, work is broken down into short, fixed-length cycles called sprints, typically 1 to 4 weeks. Each sprint is a mini-project in itself, with its own goal and a working output. This allows for frequent opportunities to inspect progress and adapt the plan based on new information. It's like building something, then rebuilding it, iterating, to make it better, rather than trying to build the perfect thing in one go. Incremental. This means that each iterative cycle produces a small, working piece of the final product. You don't wait until the entire product is finished to see parts of it working. Instead, you build the product step by step, adding new functionality in each sprint. Each increment builds upon previous ones, potentially adding new features, improving existing ones, or fixing defects. Think of building a house. A traditional approach might involve waiting for all the blueprints to be finalized, all the materials to be ordered, and then building the entire house from foundation to roof, letting the owner see it only when it's completely finished. An iterative and incremental approach, however, is like building the house room by room. You might complete the living room, then invite the owners to walk through it, get their feedback, and start living in it. Next, you build the kitchen, integrating it seamlessly with the living room, then the bedrooms, and so on. At each iteration, a completed room, the owners get a tangible working piece of their house, an increment, and can provide feedback, adjusting plans for subsequent rooms based on their experience. This allows the owners to live in, and get value from, parts of the house much sooner, and to make changes based on real experience rather than abstract plans. The combined power of iterative and incremental development allows teams to deliver value frequently, gather feedback early, reduce risk, and respond to changes more effectively than traditional, long-cycle development. 2.3. The 5 Scrum Values, Guiding Principles. While the pillars of empiricism define how Scrum functions, the 5 Scrum values define how people should behave within the framework. These values are not just buzzwords. They are essential for successfully applying Scrum and fostering high-performing, healthy teams. They enable the empirical pillars to thrive. Commitment. Scrum team members commit to achieving goals and supporting each other. This doesn't mean committing to working overtime or blindly following orders. Instead, it's about committing to the sprint goal, the primary objective for a given work cycle, and to continuously improving. It's about personal and collective dedication to the team's success and to delivering value, rather than just completing tasks. For example, a team that truly embraces commitment will speak up if they see obstacles to their collective goal and will support teammates who are struggling. Focus: everyone focuses on the work of the sprint and the sprint goal. This means putting aside distractions, saying no to new requests that threaten the current sprint's objective, and concentrating efforts on delivering the agreed-upon increment of value. For a team, this means having a clear, singular goal for the upcoming days or weeks and dedicating their collective energy to achieving it. Without focus, work is fragmented, quality can suffer, and true productivity is elusive. Openness: Scrum teams and their stakeholders are open about the work and the challenges with performing the work. This value underpins transparency. It means being open about what's going well, what's going poorly, what impediments are being faced, and being receptive to new ideas and feedback. If a team member is struggling with a task, or the team discovers a technical challenge, openness means communicating these issues clearly and early, enabling collective problem-solving. This fosters a safe environment where honesty is valued. Respect: Scrum team members respect each other as independent, capable individuals, and they respect the product owner and stakeholders for their insights and decisions. This extends to respecting different opinions, skills, backgrounds, and perspectives. It means that even during disagreements or challenging discussions, fundamental respect for each other's humanity and professionalism is maintained. A team that doesn't respect each other will struggle to collaborate effectively, leading to friction and distrust. Courage: Scrum team members have the courage to do the right thing, to work on tough problems. This includes the courage to raise impediments, to say no to unreasonable requests, to admit when something isn't working, to try new approaches, and to challenge the status quo for the sake of quality and product success. Consider a team that identifies a looming technical issue that would be easier to ignore now but disastrous later. Courage means bringing this up, even if it delays progress in the short term, and advocating for a long-term solution. These 5 values are deeply intertwined. When cultivated, they create a psychologically safe environment where teams can truly leverage empiricism, leading to higher quality products, more efficient processes, and ultimately, happier people. Without these values, Scrum can devolve into a rigid, bureaucratic process that misses its true potential. 2.4 Scrum is lightweight, not light-minded. It's important to reiterate. Scrum is simple to understand, yet often profoundly difficult to implement effectively. Its lightweight nature, meaning it has a minimal set of rules and roles, can be misleading. It asks for discipline, continuous learning, and a willingness to constantly examine and improve. Scrum isn't a silver bullet or a magic fix. It doesn't solve problems for you. Rather, it exposes them. It shines a spotlight on organizational dysfunctions, communication breakdowns, and process inefficiencies. This exposure can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it's a necessary step towards real improvement. It's a mirror showing you where you truly are, so you can bravely take steps to get where you want to be. In the next chapter, we'll introduce the unique structure of the Scrum team, detailing the distinct roles that embody these principles and bring the framework to life. Chapter 3, the Scrum team, roles and responsibilities. In traditional project management, you might find a project manager orchestrating everything, individual specialists working in their own silos, like separate departments for design, coding, testing, etc., and a complex hierarchy of managers approving every step. Scrum takes a radically different approach. It defines a single, cohesive unit called the Scrum team, designed for maximum flexibility, collaboration, and efficiency. 3.1 The Scrum team. Self-managing and cross-functional. The Scrum team is the fundamental unit of Scrum. It consists of a product owner, a Scrum master, and developers. Critically, there are no sub-teams or hierarchies within the Scrum team. It's a flat structure, an integrated whole, with members working closely together towards a common goal. There are two key characteristics that define a Scrum team: self-managing. This means the team decides how they will accomplish their work. No one, not even the Scrum Master or product owner, tells the developers how to turn product backlog items into increments of value. They collaboratively determine the best way to tackle the work, manage their daily tasks, and solve problems. This empowers the team, fosters ownership, and leads to more creative and efficient solutions. Cross-functional. The team possesses all the necessary skills to create value in every sprint without relying on outside specialists. This means a Scrum team isn't just a group of coders. It might include designers, testers, business analysts, data scientists, and any other specialists required to deliver a complete, usable piece of the product. This reduces dependencies, accelerates workflow, and ensures a holistic approach to product development. Scrum teams are typically small, ideally 10 or fewer people. This size promotes effective communication, closer collaboration, and a clearer sense of shared responsibility. Why small? As team size increases, communication overhead grows exponentially. A small, stable team that works together consistently over time builds strong relationships, shared understanding, and predictable performance. Think of a highly skilled jazz band. Each musician, a developer, brings their unique talent, cross-functional, but they decide together how to play a piece, self-managing, improvising, and listening to each other. The band leader might represent the product owner, guiding the overall direction, while a band manager might be the Scrum Master, ensuring the band has the right equipment and a good venue. But the actual performance, the creation of music, happens collaboratively within the band without someone standing over them telling them which note to play next. Now, let's explore the three distinct accountabilities within this unified Scrum team. 3.2 The product owner, the what expert. The product owner is the single individual accountable for maximizing the value of the product, resulting from the work of the Scrum team. They are the voice of the customer and the primary interface between the team and the stakeholders. Key accountabilities and activities. Product backlog management. This is the core responsibility. The product owner is accountable for clearly expressing product backlog items, the prioritized list of everything needed for the product, ordering them to best achieve goals, and ensuring the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood by everyone. They decide what will be built and in what order. Vision and strategy. They articulate the product goal, the long-term target for the product, and steer the product's direction. Stakeholder collaboration. They actively engage with users, customers, and other stakeholders to gather feedback, understand needs, and ensure the right problems are being solved. They represent the desires of these many stakeholders to the developers. Market knowledge. A good product owner understands the market, the competition, and emerging trends to make informed decisions about product direction. Common misconceptions, pitfalls, not a committee. While the product owner gathers input from many, they are a single person with ultimate decision-making authority over the product backlog. Decisions by committee lead to indecision and conflicting priorities. Needs authority and availability. A product owner must have the authority to make decisions about the product and be readily available to the Scrum team to answer questions and provide clarification. If they are merely a proxy to someone else or constantly tied up, the team becomes blocked. Example: imagine a team building a new food delivery app. The product owner would constantly talk to potential users to understand what features would be most valuable, e.g., I wish I could track my driver in real time, or I want to easily reorder past meals. They would then translate these needs into clear product backlog items, prioritize them based on business value and user demand, and regularly update the team on market trends or user feedback. 3.3 The Scrum Master, the how facilitator and coach. The Scrum Master is accountable for establishing Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. They do this by helping everyone understand Scrum theory and practice, both within the Scrum team and for the wider organization. They are the team's guide to Scrum, a coach, and a facilitator, not a manager. Key accountabilities and activities. Servant leader. The Scrum Master serves the Scrum team, the product owner, and the organization. They remove impediments to the Scrum team's progress, e.g., lack of resources, technical blockers, coach the team in self-management and cross-functionality, and facilitate Scrum events as needed. Coaching. They help the developers adhere to Scrum values and practices. They also coach the product owner on effective product backlog management. Organizational enablement. They help the organization understand why Scrum is beneficial and how to remove barriers to its adoption. They advocate for change that increases the agility of the entire organization. Process improvement. They continuously look for ways to improve the Scrum team's process and effectiveness. Common misconceptions, pitfalls. Not a project manager. A Scrum Master does not assign tasks, manage individual performance, or dictate the team's work. Their focus is on the process and removing obstacles, not managing the project scope or schedule directly. Not a secretary. They facilitate events, but they are not merely administrators or note-takers. Their role is strategic and coaching-oriented. Not a team lead. They don't have authority over the developer's work content or technical decisions. Example: if the food delivery app team is struggling with frequent bugs appearing towards the end of a sprint, the Scrum Master might facilitate a discussion, perhaps in a retrospective, to uncover the root cause. They might then coach the team on implementing better testing practices earlier in the sprint, or work with management to secure better testing tools, rather than solving the problem themselves. 3.4 The developers. The who does the work, talent. The developers are the people in the Scrum team who are committed to creating any aspect of a usable increment each sprint. They are often referred to as the team in day-to-day conversation. Key accountabilities and activities. Creating a plan for the sprint, they collectively create the sprint backlog, identifying how they will turn selected product backlog items into a done increment. Instilling quality. They adhere to a definition of done, which we'll discuss in Chapter 5, to ensure the quality of their work. Adapting their plan daily. They use the daily Scrum to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt their plan for the day to maximize their chances of achieving it. Accountability. They hold each other accountable as professionals for delivering value and adhering to the Scrum values. Common misconceptions, pitfalls, not just coders. While software development often involves coding, the developer's role encompasses all skills needed to create a usable increment. This can include programming, testing, user experience design, database management, technical writing, etc. Self-organizing. They pull work from the product backlog and decide collectively how to best get the work done, rather than waiting for tasks to be assigned. Example: in our food delivery app example, the developers would include the mobile app coders, the backend database specialists, the UI/UX designers making the app user-friendly, and the quality assurance engineers testing all the features. They would decide together who works on what, collaborate on coding and problem-solving, and ensure their work meets the quality standards defined by their definition of done. 3.5 Collaboration over command and control. One of the most powerful aspects of the Scrum team structure is how it fosters collaboration and collective ownership, moving away from traditional hierarchical, command and control management. The product owner provides the what and the why, the developers figure out the how, and the Scrum Master coaches and smooths the path. This clear yet interconnected accountability empowers the team to solve problems collectively and deliver maximum value, rather than being bogged down by external directives or internal turf wars. The success of the product becomes a shared triumph for the entire Scrum team. Chapter 4. The heartbeat of Scrum, events that drive progress. If the Scrum team is the engine of value creation, then the Scrum events are the regular tune-ups and courses that keep that engine running smoothly and on track. These events are formal opportunities for inspection and adaptation, creating regularization and minimizing the need for other meetings not defined in Scrum. They provide the cadence, the heartbeat, of the entire Scrum framework. Each event in Scrum is a formal opportunity to inspect and adapt. They are prescribed, time-boxed activities, meaning they have a maximum duration to ensure focus and efficiency. Let's explore these critical events. 4.1 The sprint, the container of all events. The sprint is the core, rhythmic element of Scrum. It is a fixed-length period, typically 1 to 4 weeks long, though often 2 weeks is preferred for its balance of predictability and responsiveness. during which the Scrum team works to create a done, usable, and potentially releasable increment. Purpose, to produce a valuable working piece of the product. Duration, consistent from one sprint to the next. This consistency provides a regular rhythm, making it easier for the team to predict how much work they can accomplish. Key rule: once a sprint begins, its duration and sprint goal are fixed. No changes are made that would endanger the sprint goal. This rule helps the team focus and protects them from constant external disruptions. Think of a sprint as a mini project. Within this mini project, all other Scrum events occur, allowing the team to plan, build, inspect, and adapt as they move towards their larger product goal. It's like a baker who sets an hour to bake a batch of cookies. Within that hour, they measure ingredients, mix, bake, and then taste the cookies, all within that predetermined time frame. 4.2 Sprint Planning. Setting the course. At the very beginning of each sprint, the Scrum team holds sprint planning. This event ensures that the team understands what they will achieve in the upcoming sprint and how they will achieve it. Purpose: to define the sprint goal and select product backlog items that can be delivered during the sprint, then create a plan for doing so. Attendees: the entire Scrum team, product owner, Scrum Master, and developers. Time box: maximum 8 hours for a 1-month sprint. For a 2-week sprint, it's typically limited to 4 hours. Key outcomes: the sprint goal, a single, overarching objective for the sprint. This provides focus and a reason why the team is building this particular set of items. Selected product backlog items. A subset of items from the product backlog that the developers believe they can complete within the sprint, working towards the sprint goal. Sprint backlog, the detailed plan created by the developers, outlining how they will turn the selected product backlog items into a done increment. Example: our food delivery app team might enter sprint planning wanting to add a loyalty points feature. The product owner presents detailed information about this feature. The developers then collaborate, breaking down the feature into smaller tasks, e.g., design loyalty points icon, implement points calculation logic, write unit tests for points redemption. They might agree on a sprint goal like enable users to earn and view loyalty points on their orders. They then commit to a set of these tasks, forming their sprint backlog, confident they can deliver them within the sprint's time box. All this happens collaboratively until the entire team is confident about the plan. 4.3 Daily Scrum, staying synchronized. The daily Scrum, often called the daily stand-up, is a short, daily check-in for the developers to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog as necessary. Purpose: to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog, if necessary, adjusting the upcoming planned work. It enhances communication and identifies impediments. Attendees: primarily the developers. The product owner and Scrum Master attend if they are actively working as developers within the sprint or to observe impediments. Time box: max 15 minutes, every day at the same time and place. Key focus: not a status report to the Scrum Master or product owner, but a planning meeting for the developers. They discuss what they did yesterday, what they plan to do today, and any impediments that are blocking their progress towards the sprint goal. Example: during a daily Scrum for the food delivery app, one developer might say, "Yesterday, I finished the loyalty points calculation. Today, I'll start building the user interface for displaying points. I'm blocked because the icon design isn't ready yet." Another developer might chime in, "Oh, I just finished the icon in my design tool. I'll share it with you immediately." This quick, focused conversation allows the team to self-organize, resolve mini-blockers efficiently, and ensure everyone is aligned. An anecdote from a real team highlighted how their daily Scrum uncovered a critical blocking dependency on an external system early in the sprint. Because it was brought up so quickly, the Scrum Master could work to resolve it, saving the team days of potential rework that would have happened further down the line if the problem had surfaced later. 4.4 Sprint Review, inspecting the product. At the end of the sprint, the Scrum team holds the sprint review to inspect the increment that was just created and to adapt the product backlog if needed. It's a collaborative working session, not just a presentation. Purpose: to inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog as needed. It's an opportunity for the Scrum team and stakeholders to collaborate on what was done in the sprint and what to do next. Attendees, the entire Scrum team and key stakeholders, e.g., customers, users, managers, sales, internal experts. Time box, max 4 hours for a 1-month sprint, proportionately shorter for shorter sprints. Key activities. The product owner explains what product backlog items are done and not done. The developers discuss what went well, what problems they encountered, and how they solved them. The developers demonstrate the done increment. The team and stakeholders discuss the increment, review market conditions, and collaborate on what to do next. The product owner may also discuss the product backlog as it stands. Example: the food delivery app team demonstrates the fully functional loyalty point system. A marketing stakeholder might suggest, based on recent market research, that integrating with a popular local business loyalty program would be more impactful than a standalone system initially envisioned. This feedback directly influences the product owner's decisions for future product backlog items, leading to immediate adaptation. 4.5 Sprint Retrospective. Inspecting the process. The sprint retrospective is the final event of the sprint, focusing inwards on the Scrum team itself. It's a dedicated time for the team to inspect how they are working and plan improvements for their process. Purpose: to plan ways to increase quality and effectiveness. The team inspects itself regarding individuals, interactions, processes, and tools. Attendees: the entire Scrum team, product owner, Scrum master, and developers. No external stakeholders attend. Time box: max 3 hours for a 1-month sprint, proportionately shorter for shorter sprints. Key activities: discuss what went well during the sprint, discuss what could be improved, identify potential problems or impediments, both process and interpersonal. Commit to specific, actionable improvements for the next sprint. These improvements are added to the sprint backlog for the next sprint if relevant or implemented immediately. Example: in the sprint retrospective, the food delivery app team might discuss that their initial estimates for UI work were consistently off. They might brainstorm reasons. Perhaps they weren't breaking down UI tasks small enough, or they needed to involve the designer earlier in the process. They might decide to implement a new practice. All UI tasks must have a preliminary design mockup reviewed by at least one other developer before estimation. This specific action is then tracked to see if it improves their estimation accuracy in subsequent sprints. A previous team was observed suffering from many quality issues, only to discover through their retrospective that they had implicitly agreed upon a very weak definition of done. After painstakingly creating a clearer, more rigorous definition of what done meant, they saw a significant improvement in quality in subsequent sprints. These 5 events are the synchronized dance that gives Scrum its power. They ensure constant inspection and adaptation, allowing the team to maximize its potential and deliver value continuously. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the concrete outputs of this process, the Scrum artifacts. Chapter 5. The Pillars of Productivity, Scrum Artifacts. If the Scrum team comprises the people and the Scrum events are the cadence that drives their work, then the Scrum artifacts are the tangible outputs and inputs that provide transparency and opportunities for inspection and adaptation. These artifacts are specifically designed to maximize transparency of key information, helping everyone understand the current state of a product and the work being done. There are 3 primary Scrum artifacts: the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment. Each contains a commitment to a specific goal, reinforcing focus and empiricism. 5.1 Product Backlog. The evolving wish list. The product backlog is the single, authoritative source of work for the Scrum team. It is an ordered, emergent list of everything that is known to be needed in the product. It's essentially a wish list that continually evolves and grows over time as understanding of the product and its users deepens. Purpose: to clearly define the product goal and represent all the work to be done on the product, providing transparency of what to build. Commitment: bound by the product goal. The product goal describes a future state of the product which can serve as a target for the Scrum team to plan against. This long-term objective is the future state or overall mission for the product. Accountability: The product owner is solely accountable for the product backlog, including its content, order, and transparency. Characteristics of a good product backlog: emergent, it is never complete. It changes constantly as new knowledge is gained, market conditions shift, and customer needs evolve. Ordered, items are prioritized. Higher-ordered items are usually more valuable, riskier, or more necessary, and will be tackled sooner. Estimable, items should be able to be reasonably sized, even if roughly. Transparent, everyone should be able to see and understand the product backlog. Product backlog items, PBIs. The what of work. Each item on the product backlog represents a piece of work needed for the product. While not mandated by Scrum, a very common format for PBIs, especially in software development, is the user story. User story format, often written as a type of user, I want some goal so that some reason benefit. This format helps the team focus on the value being delivered, not just the technical task. Example: as an online shopper, I want to be able to filter products by color so that I can quickly find items fitting my preferences. Acceptance criteria. For each PBI, there are specific, testable conditions that must be met for it to be considered done. These criteria ensure clarity and a shared understanding of what success looks like. Example acceptance criteria for the filter story: user can select multiple colors. Product display updates instantly when filters are applied. Clear filters, button is visible and resets filters. Filtering works correctly on mobile devices. The product backlog is continuously refined. This is the ongoing activity where the product owner, often with the collaboration of the developers, adds detail, estimates, and order to product backlog items. Refining helps prepare items for future sprints, ensuring they are well understood, small enough to fit within a sprint, and have clear acceptance criteria. Think of the product backlog as a chef's constantly updated menu of potential dishes. The most popular or urgent dishes are at the top, ready to be prepared, while new ideas are added to the bottom for consideration later. 5.2 Sprint Backlog. The team's plan for the sprint. Where the product backlog defines what the product needs, the sprint backlog outlines how the developers will deliver a portion of that need in the current sprint. It's the developer's forecast of everything they will do to achieve the sprint goal. Purpose: to make transparent the work the developers plan to accomplish in the current sprint and their plan for delivering a done increment. Commitment: defined by the sprint goal. The sprint goal is the single objective for the sprint. Although the sprint backlog may evolve as the developers learn more, the sprint goal remains constant, providing focus. Accountability: the developers are solely accountable for the sprint backlog. They decide how to turn product backlog items into an increment and manage their own work. Characteristics: owned by developers. No one dictates the sprint backlog to them. Highly visible, often displayed on a physical board, like a Kanban board or a digital tool, showing tasks moving from to-do to in progress to done within the sprint. Evolving: the sprint backlog is updated throughout the sprint as the developers gain new insights or overcome challenges. The sprint backlog contains the product backlog items selected for the sprint, plus the plan for delivering them. This might include detailed tasks, subtasks, and the associated effort estimates that the developers devise during sprint planning. Using our chef analogy: if the product backlog is the restaurant's menu, the sprint backlog is the specific shopping list of ingredients needed for today's dishes, combined with the step-by-step cooking instructions, the mise en place, that the chefs themselves create for the current shift. 5.3 Increment: the sum of done work. The increment is the result of the Scrum team's efforts during a sprint. It's a concrete stepping stone towards the product goal, containing all the product backlog items completed during the sprint and the value of all previous increments. Purpose: to provide concrete, usable value that can be inspected and adapted. Commitment: governed by the definition of done, do-de. The do-de is a formal description of the state of the increment when it meets the quality measures required for the product. Accountability: the developers are accountable for creating an increment that meets the definition of done. What does done mean? The definition of done, do-de. The definition of done is perhaps the most critical concept for an increment. It is a shared understanding within the Scrum team of what it means for work to be truly complete and of high quality. It's an agreement on the minimum quality standards that every increment must meet before it can be potentially released. Why it's crucial: ensures quality and prevents technical debt, the implied cost of future rework caused by choosing an easy solution now instead of a better approach. Builds transparency. Everyone knows what done truly means. Promotes consistency and predictability. Increases confidence in the product. Examples of DoD criteria. Code reviewed and approved. Unit tests passed with X% coverage. Automated acceptance tests passed. Functionality tested by QA. Performance tests passed. Security reviews completed. Deployed to a staging environment. Documentation updated. User manuals, API docs. No known bugs or defects. The increment is potentially releasable, meaning it's ready to be used by customers at any time. It doesn't have to be released, but it could be, reflecting stable, tested, and high-quality work. A team that repeatedly launches things that aren't fully done according to their duty is building up a mountain of technical debt that will eventually slow them to a crawl. A memorable anecdote from a team was their constant complaints about bugs and rework in later stages. It wasn't until their Scrum Master challenged them to create a rigorous, detailed definition of done, including automated test coverage and successful deployment to a test environment, that they genuinely started delivering high-quality, truly done increments. The painful process of living by their true duty exposed all the shortcuts they were taking, but ultimately led to a much more reliable product. 5.4. The relationship between artifacts and commitments. The 3 Scrum artifacts provide transparent information to help inspect and adapt. Each artifact is tied to a specific commitment, providing a clear target that guides the work and the expectations. Product backlog commits to the product goal. Sprint backlog commits to the sprint goal. Increment commits to the definition of done. These commitments reinforce the empirical foundations of Scrum. They provide clear targets that allow the team to continuously inspect their progress and adapt their approach, ensuring that they are always moving towards valuable outcomes. In the next chapter, we'll put all of these pieces together to see how an entire sprint unfolds in action, from vision to a done increment. Chapter 6. A sprint in action. From vision to done. We've now covered the foundational principles of Scrum, empiricism, iterative incremental development, and the 5 values, the roles within a Scrum team, and the specific events and artifacts that give Scrum its structure. But how does it all come together in practice? This chapter will walk you through a typical Scrum sprint, demonstrating how the theory translates into dynamic, collaborative action. Imagine our food delivery app team from previous examples. They have a clear product goal: to become the most convenient and reliable food delivery service for local restaurants in their city. They've already launched a basic version of the app and are now focused on enhancing the user experience and adding more features. 6.1. Before the sprint. Keeping the backlog ready. Even before a new sprint officially begins, work is happening. The product owner is continuously refining the product backlog. This isn't a formal event, but an ongoing, collaborative activity. The product owner meets regularly with the developers and stakeholders to add detail to higher priority items, break down large features into smaller, manageable product backlog items, PBIs, and ensure acceptance criteria are clear. This makes sure that when sprint planning arrives, there are enough ready items, those that are well understood and small enough to be tackled within a sprint. For our food delivery app, the product owner has gathered feedback that users want more flexibility with delivery times. This feature idea is a large PBI. Through refinement, the product owner, working with the developers, breaks it down into several smaller user stories. As a customer, I want to select a future delivery time to schedule an order. As a restaurant, I want to see scheduled orders in my order queue. And, as a driver, I want to receive notifications for scheduled orders based on their planned pickup time. Each is detailed with clear acceptance criteria. 6.2. The sprint begins. Sprint planning and practice. It's now Monday morning, the start of a new 2-week sprint. The entire Scrum team, product owner, Scrum Master, and developers gathers for sprint planning, time boxed to a maximum of 4 hours. The product owner starts by presenting the highest priority, ready items from the product backlog, including the new delivery scheduling features. They explain the value of these features to the users and the business, reminding the team of the overall product goal. The developers then take over. They discuss the technical implications, potential complexities, and interdependencies of these features. They break down the selected user stories into smaller, actionable tasks that will form their sprint backlog. They use their historical velocity, their average capacity from previous sprints, as a guide to help them decide how much work they can realistically commit to in this sprint, rather than being forced to take on an arbitrary amount. After much discussion, negotiation, and perhaps some reordering of items with the product owner, the team agrees on a sprint goal: enable customers to schedule food deliveries for a future time. This single, overarching objective provides focus and a collective purpose for the next 2 weeks. The selected PBIs and the detailed tasks to complete them form their sprint backlog. Everyone is aligned, and the work can begin. 6.3 During the sprint, the daily flow. The developers immediately get to work. Task boards, physical or digital, are updated, showing to-do, in progress, and done columns. Every morning, the developers gather for the daily Scrum, time boxed to max 15 minutes. This is their brief internal sync-up. Each developer quickly shares what they did yesterday that helped achieve the sprint goal, what they plan to do today to help achieve the sprint goal, any impediments that are blocking their progress. One morning, Sarah, a backend developer, says, "I finished the database schema changes for scheduled orders yesterday. Today I'll start work on the API endpoint for restaurants to view these orders. I have a question about the authentication protocol for the restaurant dashboard. It's not clearly defined." The Scrum Master notes this down and offers to connect her with the relevant security expert after the daily Scrum. The daily Scrums are dynamic, and developers frequently say to each other, "I can help with that," or "let's pair on that task later." Meanwhile, the product owner remains engaged, though not actively participating in the daily development. They might be clarifying a detail on an acceptance criterion, gathering feedback on a proposed UI design, or starting to refine items for future sprints. The Scrum Master is a constant presence, coaching the team, removing impediments, like securing that security expert for Sarah, and ensuring Scrum rules are followed. For example, if a stakeholder suddenly demands a last-minute, unrelated feature be added to the current sprint, the Scrum Master would step in to protect the team's sprint goal and redirect the request to the product owner for proper prioritization in the product backlog. The developers are not just mindlessly coding. They are continuously testing, collaborating on complex problems, and ensuring that everything they build meets the definition of done. They are self-organizing, collectively deciding who picks up which task and how to overcome challenges. 6.4 Wrapping up. Sprint review and retrospective. After 2 weeks, the sprint is over. It's time to inspect the increment and the process. First, the team holds the sprint review, time boxed to max 4 hours. The entire Scrum team, along with key stakeholders, e.g., restaurant owners, power users, marketing team, attends. The product owner begins by showing which items from the sprint backlog were completed and which were not. The developers then demonstrate the done increment. Customers can now schedule deliveries for a future time, restaurant owners see these scheduled orders, and drivers receive proper notifications. The atmosphere is interactive. Stakeholders ask questions, provide direct feedback, and even suggest new ideas based on what they see. A restaurant owner might suggest, "This is great, but could we also have an option to mark an order, ready for pickup, for the driver, a few minutes before the actual scheduled pickup time?" This valuable input goes straight back into the product backlog for the product owner to consider for an upcoming sprint. Immediately following, or shortly after the sprint review, the Scrum team holds the sprint retrospective, time boxed to max 3 hours. This is a private, internal session for the Scrum team to inspect themselves and their working process. They discuss what went well. E.g., our collaboration on the API was really smooth this sprint. What could be improved? E.g., we spent too much time debugging. Maybe we need more automated tests earlier. What can we commit to doing differently in the next sprint? E.g., We will integrate a new static code analysis tool to catch potential bugs faster. Or, we will pair program on all critical paths to ensure higher code quality. A powerful example from a real team was when a retrospective revealed that communication delays were constantly hurting their progress. The team decided to implement a no Slack messages within 1 hour of the daily Scrum rule, encouraging face-to-face or video communication immediately following the stand-up for urgent issues. This small process change, born from their own inspection, significantly improved their communication flow. 6.5. The cycle continues, embracing iteration. With the increment demonstrated and process improvements identified, the cycle begins anew. The input from the sprint review, stakeholder feedback, updated market conditions, helps the product owner refine the product backlog for the next sprint. The improvements identified in the retrospective are implemented immediately. This continuous loop of planning, executing, inspecting, and adapting is the magic of Scrum. It's the build, measure, learn cycle in action, ensuring that our food delivery app evolves not based on old assumptions, but on continuous feedback and validated learning, always moving closer to its product goal. It's a powerful, dynamic pattern that drives progress and builds products that truly meet evolving customer needs. Chapter 7. Planning and Estimation. Navigating the product backlog. One of the most common questions from those new to Scrum is, how do you know how long something will take? In traditional projects, there's often an exhaustive upfront effort to create detailed schedules and precise time estimates. Scrum takes a different, more adaptive approach, recognizing that precise predictions are often impossible in complex, uncertain environments. Instead, Scrum focuses on forecasting and relative estimation. 7.1. What is a product backlog item? The what of work. As we discussed in Chapter 5, a product backlog item, PBI, is anything that needs to be done for the product. While PBIs can include bug fixes, technical improvements, and research spikes, the most common and valuable type of PBI, particularly for new features, is the user story. User stories. Focusing on value and users. User stories are short, simple descriptions of a feature from the perspective of the person who desires it, typically a user or customer. They follow a classic template. As a type of user, I want some goal so that some reason benefit. The power of user stories lies not in their format, but in their ability to facilitate conversations about user value. They shift the focus from merely describing functionality to understanding why that functionality matters to a specific user. Example 1. Well-formed. As a premium subscriber, I want to access exclusive content so that I feel I'm getting extra value from my subscription. Example 2. Poorly formed. Too technical. As a developer, I want to implement a new database table for exclusive content. This misses the user value. For each user story, acceptance criteria are essential. These are conditions that must be met for the story to be considered done. They clarify expectations and provide concrete, testable benchmarks. Acceptance criteria for example 1. Premium subscribers can log in with their credentials. A premium content section is visible only to premium subscribers. Clicking on exclusive content allows viewing within the app. Non-premium subscribers are unable to view exclusive content. Breaking down and investing in stories. Larger, complex features often start as epic user stories that are too big for a single sprint. Part of product backlog refinement involves breaking these down into smaller, manageable user stories. A helpful acronym for evaluating if a user story is ready for work is INVEST. Independent. Can be developed and delivered without depending on other stories. Negotiable, not a fixed contract, details can be discussed and changed. Valuable, delivers a meaningful piece of value to the user or business. Estimable, can be reasonably estimated in size. Small, small enough to fit within a sprint and for developers to estimate accurately. Testable, there are clear acceptance criteria by which to confirm completion. 7.2. Estimation in Scrum. Embracing uncertainty. In complex environments, traditional time-based estimates, e.g., this will take 40 hours, are often notoriously inaccurate. They force premature precision and ignore the inherent uncertainty of innovative work. Scrum embraces a different approach, Relative estimation. Relative estimation. Instead of estimating in absolute units of time, teams estimate items relative to each other based on their perceived size, complexity, and uncertainty. This is often done using story points. Story points. An arbitrary unit of measure representing the total effort, including development, testing, design, coordination, deployment, etc., required to implement a product backlog item. Crucially, story points are not directly convertible to hours or days. They are a proxy for effort, acknowledging that one task might be small but very complex, while another is large but straightforward. Think about estimating how difficult it is to hike up a mountain. You could try to estimate the exact number of hours it will take, but that's difficult due to weather, terrain surprises, your fitness level on the day, etc. A relative estimate would be, this mountain is about twice as hard as that small hill over there, and half as hard as that huge peak. This relative comparison is often much easier and more accurate than absolute time estimations, especially when uncertainty is high. 7.3 Techniques for estimating and prioritizing. Teams use various techniques for relative estimation, with planning poker being one of the most popular and effective. Planning poker. This is a collaborative, consensus-based technique that uses a modified Fibonacci sequence, e.g., 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. For story point values, the product owner describes a product backlog item. Developers discuss the item, asking questions for clarification. Each developer secretly chooses a card representing their estimate in story points. All cards are revealed simultaneously. If estimates differ significantly, the high and low estimators explain their reasoning, revealing assumptions or missing information. The team discusses and then reestimates. This process continues until a consensus or close agreement within one Fibonacci step is reached. Benefits of planning poker: uncovers hidden assumptions. Different estimates often highlight misunderstandings about the PBI. Promotes discussion, forces developers to articulate their reasoning. Collective ownership. The estimate is a team estimate, not an individual's, fostering shared responsibility. Prioritization. While developers estimate the size of PBIs, the product owner is accountable for prioritizing them. This is typically done based on value. How much business value or customer benefit will this item deliver? Risk. Does tackling this item reduce significant risks, technical, market, etc.? Dependencies. Are there other items or external factors that this item relies upon or enables? Urgency. Is there a time-sensitive need for this feature? The product owner continuously orders the product backlog, ensuring the most valuable and important items are at the top, ready for the developers to pick up in future sprints. 7.4 Velocity. A tool, not a target. Once a Scrum team has completed a few sprints, they can start to calculate their velocity. Definition. Velocity is the sum of the story points of all product backlog items successfully completed, meaning they meet the definition of done in a sprint. Purpose of velocity. Forecasting capacity. Velocity is a historical measure and can help the team understand how much work they might be able to pull into future sprints. If a team consistently completes 30 story points per sprint, they can use that as an input for sprint planning. Long-term forecasting. Over many sprints, a stable velocity can be used by the product owner to forecast when a larger set of features might be delivered. If a product has 300 remaining story points on its product backlog and the team's average velocity is 30, a rough forecast for completion is 10 more sprints. Misuse of velocity, common anti-patterns. Using velocity as a target KPI. Increase your velocity by 10% next quarter. This often leads to teams inflating estimates or compromising quality to hit an artificial target, rendering velocity useless as a forecasting tool. Comparing teams, Team A has a velocity of 40, Team B only 25. Team B must be underperforming. Story points are relative to a single team's understanding. Different teams will have different relative scales. Comparing velocities is like comparing how many scoops of sand two different people filled in an hour. Their scoops, story points, are likely different sizes. For individual performance review, tracking individual contribution based on story points encourages siloed work and undermines collaboration. A powerful anecdote illustrates the dangers of misusing velocity. A company's management started rewarding teams based on their velocity. Initially, velocity numbers spiked, but then quality plummeted. Daily scrums became mere status updates with little real collaboration. The team was focused on hitting the number, not on delivering valuable, high-quality software. It wasn't until management shifted their focus from more points back to more value and quality that the teams began to truly perform again. 7.5 Release planning and forecasting. Velocity, while often volatile initially, tends to stabilize over time for a consistent Scrum team. This historical average then becomes a valuable tool for release planning and long-term forecasting. The product owner can use the average velocity to gain a rough idea of how many sprints it might take to deliver a significant set of features, or even the entire product goal. It's crucial to present these as forecasts rather than guaranteed delivery dates. Communicating transparency and the inherent uncertainty to stakeholders is paramount. A good product owner will speak in terms of ranges, e.g., "We anticipate delivering this feature set in the next 3 to 5 sprints," and emphasize that forecasts are subject to continuous adaptation as new information emerges. In Scrum, planning is an ongoing activity, not a one-time event. It's about adapting the plan based on new information and continuous learning, not adhering rigidly to an outdated roadmap. This continuous planning, informed by relative estimation and velocity, allows Scrum teams to deliver predictable value in unpredictable environments. Chapter 8. Common Challenges and Mastering the Hurdles. Scrum, at its heart, is simple. But as the saying goes, simple does not mean easy. While Scrum offers tremendous benefits in terms of adaptability, efficiency, and team morale, its implementation often comes with significant challenges. These hurdles stem not from the framework itself, but often from underlying organizational culture, ingrained habits, or a misunderstanding of Scrum's spirit. This chapter explores common challenges encountered when adopting or practicing Scrum, providing insights into their root causes and practical strategies for overcoming them. 8.1 Mindset Shifts, the human element. Perhaps the biggest hurdle in Scrum adoption isn't mastering the roles, events, or artifacts, but embracing the fundamental mindset shift it requires. Resistance to change. Change is hard. People are naturally comfortable with existing routines and patterns, even if they are inefficient. Scrum asks individuals to step outside their comfort zones, learn new ways of working, and give up familiar controls. This can manifest as passive resistance, skepticism, or even outright sabotage. Strategy, patience, clear communication of the why behind the change, active support from leadership, and celebrating small successes can help mitigate resistance. Focus on psychological safety. Make it safe to experiment and even fail. Loss of control for managers. Managers in traditional hierarchies often feel a loss of control when their teams become self-managing. They might struggle to transition from being task assigners to servant leaders, worrying about their relevance or perceived authority. Strategy. Provide training and coaching for managers on their new role in an agile environment. Help them understand that their impact will be in removing organizational impediments and fostering an environment of trust and autonomy rather than micromanaging. Fear of transparency. Scrum, by its nature, makes everything transparent: progress, impediments, successes, and failures. For individuals or organizations used to hiding problems or maintaining an illusion of perfect control, this level of transparency can be uncomfortable, even threatening. Strategy: build a culture of trust where failure is seen as a learning opportunity, not a reason for blame. Leaders must model this behavior by being transparent about their own challenges and learning. Perfectionism versus done is better than perfect. Some teams get stuck trying to create the perfect solution up front, leading to analysis paralysis. Scrum's empirical approach encourages iterative development and learning from good enough increments. Strategy: emphasize the shared understanding of the definition of done. Reinforce that the goal is a usable increment and that continuous improvement means evolving the product based on feedback, not trying to achieve perfection in one go. 8.2 role-specific anti-patterns and solutions. When individuals in Scrum roles don't fully embrace their accountabilities or revert to old habits, anti-patterns emerge that hinder Scrum's effectiveness. Product owner anti-patterns. Proxy-po, a product owner who isn't empowered to make decisions, constantly having to seek approval from higher management. This slows down the team and creates bottlenecks. Absent-po, a product owner who is rarely available to the team for clarification or prioritization. Teams become blocked, make assumptions, and deliver lower value. Technical debt evader, a product owner who consistently prioritizes new features over addressing technical debt, leading to an increasingly fragile and unmaintainable product. Solution: empower the product owner with true decision-making authority. Ensure they have dedicated time for the role. Educate them on the long-term cost of technical debt and how to balance it with new feature development. Scrum Master anti-patterns. Secretarial SM. A Scrum Master who merely facilitates meetings and takes notes, without actively coaching, removing impediments, or challenging the team organization. Taskmaster SM. A Scrum Master who acts like a traditional project manager, assigning tasks or dictating how the team should work. Passive SM. A Scrum Master who sees impediments but does not actively work to remove them, leaving the team struggling. Solution: coach Scrum Masters on their true accountabilities as servant leaders, coaches, and impediments removers. Encourage them to be assertive in protecting the team and the process. Developer anti-patterns. Hero culture. Individual developers becoming bottlenecks by hoarding knowledge or trying to solve all problems themselves instead of collaborating. Sprint spillover. Consistently failing to meet the sprint goal, leaving items almost done at the end of the sprint. This indicates poor planning, estimation, or a weak definition of done. Lack of cross-functionality. Team members refusing to help outside their specialty, leading to bottlenecks, e.g., "I'm a coder, I don't do testing." Solution: foster collective ownership of the sprint goal. Strengthen the definition of done. Encourage cross-training and pair programming. Remind the team that developers is a shared accountability for creating the increment. 8.3. Organizational and environmental challenges. Even with a perfectly formed Scrum team, external factors can derail progress. Lack of management support. If senior leadership doesn't understand or genuinely support Scrum, they can inadvertently undermine it through conflicting directives, unrealistic expectations, or a failure to remove systemic impediments. Strategy: educate leadership on the benefits and principles of Scrum. Demonstrate success with small, visible wins. Get their active engagement and buy-in for the necessary cultural shifts. Siloed departments and external dependencies. Scrum teams thrive on cross-functionality and autonomy. But if a team heavily depends on external departments, e.g., a centralized QA team, a separate operations team, a slow legal department that operate in traditional waterfall models, they will inevitably face slowdowns and handoff issues. Strategy: identify these dependencies early. Work with Scrum Masters of other teams or leaders in traditional departments to find integration points. Advocate for extending Agile principles beyond software development. Some organizations may need to restructure to create true cross-functional value streams. Scrum, but this is a common pitfall where organizations adopt parts of Scrum, but then add exceptions. We do Scrum, but we don't do daily Scrums. Or we do Scrum, but management assigns tasks. These deviations often cripple the empirical process. Strategy: understand the why behind each Scrum element. Challenge Scrumbots by explaining the value being lost. Sometimes it's a necessary adaptation, but often it's a failure to overcome a discomfort. Distributed teams. While not an inherent flaw in Scrum, managing geographically distributed Scrum teams adds layers of communication and collaboration challenges. Time zones, cultural differences, lack of spontaneous interaction. Strategy: invest in robust communication tools, video conferencing, shared whiteboards. Foster a culture of overcommunication. Encourage regular face-to-face interactions, even virtually. Be hypervigilant about maintaining transparency. 8.4. Overcoming impediments, a practical approach. The Scrum Master's primary role is to help the Scrum team resolve impediments. Here's a practical approach. Identify early. Impediments should be raised as soon as possible, ideally in the daily Scrum or when they are first discovered. Categorize. Is it a team-level impediment? The team can solve it themselves. An organizational impediment requires management intervention. A technical impediment? Scrum Master takes ownership. The Scrum Master takes responsibility for ensuring the impediment is addressed, even if they don't solve it themselves. Leverage the team. Often, the team can solve many impediments themselves through collaboration. The Scrum Master serves as a coach and facilitator. Escalate strategically. For organizational impediments, the Scrum Master may need to escalate to appropriate management levels, providing clear information about the impact of the impediment. An inspiring story from a team involved a persistent technical impediment, an outdated, critical legacy system that caused frequent crashes and data corruption. The development team had raised it repeatedly, but it was always deemed too expensive or too risky to fix. The Scrum Master, understanding the long-term drain on velocity and morale, meticulously documented every hour lost to this issue, every bug it caused, and the impact on customers. Armed with data, they escalated it to senior leadership, who finally greenlit a project to modernize the system. It was a long fight, but the Scrum Master's persistence, data, and understanding of the impact ultimately addressed a major organizational impediment. 8.5 The journey, not the destination. Ultimately, adopting Scrum isn't a one-time project. It's a continuous journey of improvement. It will expose ingrained problems and discomforts. Some days, it will feel like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The key is to embrace these challenges as learning opportunities. Use the empirical pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation on your Scrum implementation itself. And remember that courage and patience are as critical as any framework element. Chapter 9, Scaling Scrum, for larger teams and organizations. Up to this point, our discussion has primarily focused on a single Scrum team. A small, self-managing, and cross-functional unit of typically 10 or fewer people. This model works exceptionally well for developing a single product or component. But what happens when the product is so large or complex that it requires many teams? Or when an entire organization wants to reap the benefits of agility? This is where the concept of scaling Scrum comes into play. Scaling Scrum is about applying Scrum principles and practices to coordinate multiple Scrum teams working together on a single product or across an entire enterprise. It's fundamentally about maintaining the benefits of small, agile teams while aligning them towards a broader, shared vision. 9.1 When one Scrum team isn't enough. As a product grows in scope, complexity, or market demands, a single Scrum team might not have the capacity to deliver everything within a reasonable timeframe. You might encounter situations where the product backlog becomes too large for one product owner to manage effectively. The required skills span too many domains to fit into a single cross-functional team, e.g., hardware, software, AI, specialized regulatory compliance. The organization has many existing teams or products that need to align. In these scenarios, simply adding more people to one team rarely works. It often leads to diminishing returns due to increased communication overhead and coordination challenges. Instead, the solution is typically to form multiple, aligned Scrum teams. The challenge then becomes how to coordinate these teams effectively so they don't become silos, working independently and potentially at cross purposes. Without proper coordination, multiple teams can lead to integration nightmares, different components not working together, dependency hell, teams blocking each other waiting for work, inconsistent priorities, lack of a unified vision, duplication of effort, teams unknowingly solving the same problems. The goal of scaling is to foster collaboration across teams while maintaining the benefits of individual team autonomy and agility. 9.2 Principles of Scaling Scrum. While different scaling frameworks exist, they generally share common underlying principles that enable effective multi-team coordination. Maintain small, cross-functional teams. The foundational unit remains the small, empowered Scrum team. Scaling is about connecting multiple Scrum teams, not making individual teams larger. Shared product backlog vision. All multiple teams working on the same product should ideally work from a single, unified product backlog managed by one product owner, or a very tightly aligned group of product owners. This ensures a single source of truth for priorities and a unified vision for the product. Synchronized sprints. For effective coordination and integration, it's common for all involved Scrum teams to run sprints of the same duration and, ideally, start and end at the same time. This creates a natural rhythm for cross-team coordination. Integration and synchronization. Mechanisms for frequent technical integration, e.g., continuous integration, shared codebase, and cross-team communication are essential. Teams need to regularly synchronize their efforts and resolve dependencies. Cadence-based synchronization. Using regular, time-boxed events for inter-team coordination helps maintain alignment without introducing excessive overhead. Think of it like an orchestra. A single jazz quartet operates with incredible agility, but to play a symphony, you need many musical sections, strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion. Each section is a team of skilled musicians. They each have their parts PBIs, but they all play from the same score, product backlog vision, guided by a single conductor, product owner plus coordinating roles. They must play in sync, synchronized sprints, and listen to each other integration and synchronization for the symphony to be beautiful. 9.3 Popular Scaling Frameworks, High-Level Overview. Several frameworks have emerged to help organizations scale Scrum. Each offers a different approach, balancing prescription with flexibility. It's important to remember that these frameworks are guides, and the best one depends heavily on an organization's context, culture, and existing structures. Scrum at Scale, Jeff Sutherland. Developed by one of Scrum's co-creators, Dr. Jeff Sutherland, Scrum at Scale is an operating system that applies Scrum to Scrum. It focuses on maintaining the core Scrum framework for individual teams and then adds a Scrum of Scrums layer for coordination. It defines roles and events for aligning multiple teams, emphasizing leadership and fostering a scale-free architecture. It's often perceived as being less prescriptive than some other frameworks, making it adaptable to various organizational structures. LSS, Large-Scale Scrum, Craig Larman and Boz Vod. LSS takes a very strong, Scrum is Scrum, stance. Its core principle is that you apply Scrum directly to multiple teams working together on a single product. This means there's one product owner for the entire product backlog, feeding into multiple integrated Scrum teams. LSS focuses on descaling the organization rather than adding many layers of process, emphasizing simplicity and minimizing new roles. SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, Dean Leffingwell. SAFe is arguably the most comprehensive and widely adopted scaling framework, especially in larger, more traditional enterprises. It provides a full set of integrated patterns for enterprise-level Agile development, from team-level agility all the way up to portfolio management. SAFe is known for being more prescriptive than LSS or Scrum at Scale, offering detailed guidance on roles, events, and artifacts at multiple levels: team, program, large solution, portfolio. Critics sometimes argue its comprehensive nature can lead to an overly bureaucratic implementation if not applied thoughtfully. The key takeaway for the reader here is that these frameworks are tools. They provide a structure for multiple teams to collaborate, but the underlying principles of Scrum empiricism, the 5 values, and the lightweight nature of the framework must still be upheld. The goal is flow and alignment, not simply implementing a new set of complex rules. 9.4 Challenges of Scaling. Scaling Scrum introduces its own set of complexities that organizations must be prepared to address, maintaining effective communication and alignment. As the number of teams grows, ensuring everyone is on the same page and working towards common goals becomes harder. Regular, well-facilitated cross-team communication events are critical. Managing dependencies between teams. When one team's work relies on another's, effective dependency management is crucial to avoid bottlenecks. This requires proactive planning and continuous coordination. Technical integration. Ensuring that code from multiple teams integrates smoothly and doesn't break existing functionality. Robust continuous integration, continuous delivery, CI/CD, pipelines are paramount. Preserving team autonomy versus enterprise goals. Finding the right balance between empowering individual Scrum teams to self-organize and aligning their efforts with broader organizational objectives. Avoiding mini waterfalls. A common anti-pattern in scaled environments where, despite using Scrum within teams, the overall flow between teams or departments reverts to a sequential, handoff model. This undermines agility. 9.5. The importance of organizational agility. Ultimately, scaling Scrum is not just about implementing a new process for software development. It's about fostering organizational agility. This means the entire organization, from the top leadership down, embraces Agile principles to respond quickly and effectively to changes in the market, technology, and customer needs. Leadership support is paramount. Successful scaling efforts require strong leadership commitment to change the organizational culture, remove systemic impediments, and champion the Agile mindset. Beyond software. The principles of agility can be applied beyond software development to HR, marketing, finance, and other departments, helping the entire enterprise become more responsive and innovative. Scaling Scrum is a significant undertaking, but for large organizations facing complex challenges, it offers a proven path to greater adaptability, faster delivery of value, and a more engaged workforce. It allows the power of the small Scrum team to multiply, creating a cohesive, adaptive, and high-performing enterprise. Chapter 10. Beyond the Framework. Culture, Continuous Improvement, and Your Scrum Journey. We've explored Scrum in detail. Its foundational principles, the roles, events, and artifacts that give it structure, how a sprint unfolds, and even how it can be scaled. But here's a crucial point. Scrum is a tool, a framework, not a magic wand. Simply implementing its rules will not guarantee success. The true power of Scrum lies beyond its defined elements, in the cultural shifts and mindset changes it fosters. 10.1. The Power of Culture. Scrum as a mirror. Scrum, at its heart, is a framework for empiricism. It operates by making work transparent, inspecting results, and adapting. This very transparency acts as a powerful mirror, reflecting the true state of an organization's culture. Scrum exposes dysfunctions. If there's a lack of trust within a team, Scrum reveals it, e.g., reluctance to admit impediments in the daily Scrum. If priorities are unclear, Scrum highlights it, e.g., product owner frequently changing the sprint goal. If leadership is micromanaging, Scrum makes it obvious by impeding self-management. This might be uncomfortable, but it's a necessary first step towards improvement. Scrum doesn't create these problems. It exposes them, forcing the organization to confront them. Building a culture of trust and experimentation. For Scrum to thrive, it requires a culture where trust prevails. Teams feel safe to experiment, make mistakes, and openly discuss problems without fear of blame. This is critical for psychological safety. Collaboration is valued. Silos are broken down, and individuals are encouraged to work together towards shared goals. Learning is continuous. Mistakes are seen as opportunities to learn and adapt, not reasons for punishment. Empowerment is real. Teams have the autonomy to make decisions about how they work and deliver value. If the prevailing culture is one of command and control, blame, or siloed thinking, Scrum will inevitably struggle. It requires leadership to consciously cultivate an environment where the Scrum values, commitment, focus, openness, respect, courage can genuinely flourish. 10.2. Continuous Improvement. Beyond the retrospective. The sprint retrospective is a formal, time-boxed event for inspecting and adapting the Scrum team's process. But continuous improvement isn't limited to this one meeting. It's a pervasive philosophy that should permeate every aspect of work. Kaizen, the philosophy of small, continuous changes. Originating from Japanese manufacturing, Kaizen advocates for constant, incremental improvements rather than dramatic, infrequent overhauls. In Scrum, this means consistently looking for tiny ways to get better every day, perhaps a new keyboard shortcut, a more efficient testing technique, or a slight tweak to how the team communicates. Inspect and adapt everywhere. Apply the empirical pillars beyond the formal Scrum events. Code review, inspecting code, adapting it to improve quality. User feedback. Inspecting user behavior and feedback, adapting the product based on insights. New tools and technologies. Experimenting, inspecting results, adapting usage. Investing and learning. Continuous improvement also means investing in the team's growth. This might involve training courses, attending industry conferences, dedicating time to learn new technologies, or creating internal knowledge-sharing sessions. A team that commits to continuous learning is destined to improve. 10.3. The role of leadership in Agile transformations. While Scrum teams are self-managing, the broader organization's leadership plays a pivotal role in the success of any Agile transformation. Without their support, Scrum often gets sidelined or simply becomes another bureaucratic layer. Servant leadership. Leaders in an Agile organization shift from being task assigners to servant leaders. Their primary focus becomes removing systemic impediments, clearing organizational roadblocks that hinder teams, e.g., budget approvals, conflicting priorities from different departments, lack of necessary resources. Coaching and mentoring, guiding teams and individuals rather than dictating solutions, providing vision and purpose, communicating clear product goals and organizational direction, allowing teams to align their work. Empowering teams, trusting teams to make decisions and providing them with the necessary autonomy. Modeling Agile values, demonstrating transparency, courage, and respect in their own actions. A large financial institution embarked on an Agile transformation. Initially, it struggled because middle management, accustomed to command and control, felt threatened. The CEO intervened, sending key leaders through intensive Agile coaching programs, explicitly stating that their new role was to support and empower the teams, not to dictate their work. They also shifted performance reviews to focus on team outcomes and living Agile values, rather than individual output. This visible commitment from the top was crucial in shifting the entire organizational culture over time. 10.4. Integrating with other practices. Scrum is a framework, not a complete solution for everything. It provides the backbone for managing work in complex environments, but it can be powerfully complemented by other methodologies and practices. DevOps. This set of practices aims to shorten the system's development lifecycle and provide continuous delivery with high software quality. Scrum's focus on frequent working increments pairs perfectly with DevOps principles like continuous integration, CI, continuous delivery, CD, and continuous deployment. A done increment in Scrum often means it's ready to be pushed to production via a robust DevOps pipeline. Lean thinking. Drawing from Toyota's production system, Lean focuses on maximizing customer value while minimizing waste. Scrum naturally aligns with Lean by emphasizing working software, short cycles, and eliminating wasteful activities. User experience, UX design. Integrating UX designers directly into Scrum teams ensures that user centricity isn't an afterthought. UX research and design can be incorporated throughout sprints, informing product backlog refinement and validating user stories. Design thinking. This human-centered approach to innovation can inform the early stages of product development, helping to define the right problems to solve and generate creative solutions that then feed into the product backlog. Scrum does not prescribe these practices, but it creates an empirical environment where their benefits can be fully realized and integrated. 10.5. Building a learning organization. Ultimately, the goal of embracing Scrum and an Agile mindset is to transform into a learning organization. This is an organization that is skilled at creating, acquiring, and transferring knowledge, and at modifying its behavior to reflect new knowledge and insights. Embracing experimentation. A learning organization views every new initiative as an experiment, carefully monitoring results and adapting based on data. Promoting knowledge sharing. Breaking down silos and creating channels for information to flow freely across the organization. Creating psychological safety. As discussed, this is paramount for individuals to feel safe to speak up, share ideas, and admit mistakes. Focusing on outcomes, not just output. A learning organization measures its success not just by how much it produces, but by the value and impact of that production. The journey with Scrum is one of continuous discovery and adaptation. It's about empowering people, fostering collaboration, and relentless pursuit of improvement. It requires courage, patience, and a willingness to look inward and address uncomfortable truths. But for those who embark on this journey, the rewards are immense: more valuable products, more efficient processes, and a more engaged, resilient workforce. Chapter 11, Your Next Steps. Embracing the Scrum Mindset. You've now journeyed through the core concepts of Scrum, from its agile roots to the roles, events, and artifacts that give it structure, and even the cultural shifts required for success. You understand that Scrum is a lightweight framework built on empiricism, designed to help teams deliver value in complex, adaptive environments. So, what's next for you? How can you apply this knowledge, whether you're just starting, looking to improve, or simply curious about better ways of working? 11.1 Starting Small. Experimentation is key. The beauty of Scrum is that you don't need a formal, company-wide Agile transformation to start applying its principles. You can begin small, experiment, and learn. This iterative approach mirrors Scrum itself. For individuals, increase transparency. When working on a task, don't just work in silence. Let others know what you're doing, what challenges you face, and when you expect to be done. A simple status update email or chat message can go a long way. Personal daily Scrum. At the start of your day, quickly ask yourself, what did I do yesterday? What will I do today? Are there any roadblocks? This quick self-reflection can boost your focus. Inspect and adapt your own process. At the end of a project or even a work week, reflect, what went well? What could I do better next time? Then commit to one small change. For teams, even without formal Scrum, visualize workflow. Use a simple whiteboard or tool to show tasks moving from to-do to in progress to done. This brings immediate transparency. Daily check-in. Introduce a short 15-minute daily sync-up. Focus on what's completed, what's next, and any blockers. Keep it focused and collaborative, not a status report to a manager. Regular feedback loop. After completing a significant piece of work, gather as a team to discuss what went well and what could be improved for next time. Just like a sprint retrospective, identify 1 or 2 actionable improvements. Focus on done. Establish a clear agreement on what done truly means for your work. Don't move on until it's verifiably complete to that standard. Remember the analogy of learning to ride a bicycle. You don't learn by reading a manual. You learn by trying, falling, adjusting, and trying again. Start with one principle or one event, iterate, and build from there. 11.2 Finding your first Scrum team. If you're looking to dive into a formal Scrum team, here's how to approach it. Look for companies embracing Agile. Many job descriptions explicitly mention Scrum, Agile, or specific roles like Scrum Master or Product Owner. Research a company's culture and ask about their Agile adoption during interviews. Inquire about team dynamics. Ask questions like, how do your teams self-organize? Or, how do you handle impediments? This will give you clues about how deeply they've adopted the Scrum mindset versus just using the terminology. Consider open source projects. Many open source software projects leverage Agile practices, providing a great opportunity to gain experience in a collaborative environment. Value entry-level Scrum roles. If you're a developer, joining a Scrum team as a developer is a fantastic way to learn by doing. If you aspire to be a Scrum Master or Product Owner, you might find junior or assistant roles or opportunities to shadow experienced practitioners. 11.3 What leaders and managers can do. For those in leadership and management positions, your role in fostering a successful Scrum environment is crucial. Empowerment. Delegate genuine decision-making authority to Scrum teams. Trust them to figure out the how. Step back from micromanagement. Servant leadership. Focus on removing organizational impediments for your teams. Protect them from external distractions and provide the resources they need. Coach, mentor, and support rather than command and control. Be a champion, lead by example. Communicate the why behind Agile adoption. Celebrate team successes and be transparent about challenges and lessons learned. Invest in training. Provide professional training for your Scrum Masters, product owners, and developers. Equip them with the skills they need to excel in their roles. Shift performance measures. Move away from individual output targets to focus on team outcomes, product value delivery, and the embrace of Agile values. 11.4 Beyond Software, applying Scrum anywhere. While Scrum originated in software development, its application extends far beyond code. The principles of transparency, inspection, and adaptation are universally valuable. Marketing campaigns. A marketing team can use sprints to plan and execute campaigns, getting feedback on early versions of ads, iterating on messaging, and adapting to market responses. Event planning. Organizing a conference or a large event can benefit from sprints with clear roles, defined increments, e.g., website live, venue booked, speakers confirmed, daily check-ins, and regular reviews. Writing a book. Yes, even this book could be seen through a Scrum lens. Each chapter is an increment. Daily writing sessions are like a personal daily Scrum, and getting feedback from editors is inspection and adaptation. Personal projects. Whether it's renovating a house, learning a new skill, or simply managing household chores, applying Scrum principles can bring structure, focus, and continuous improvement. Imagine a chore backlog, a family daily Scrum, and a weekly chore review. 11.5 Continued learning and community. Scrum is a journey of continuous learning. The framework is simple, but mastery takes time and experience. The Scrum Guide, this is the authoritative source. It's a deliberately short, around 13 pages document that defines the rules of Scrum. Read it, reread it, and refer to it often. It's concise and precise. Certifications. Organizations like Scrum.org, Professional Scrum Master, Professional Scrum Product Owner, and Scrum Alliance, Certified Scrum Master, Certified Product Owner, offer certification courses. While not a guarantee of mastery, they provide foundational knowledge and a common understanding. Consider them a starting point for your learning journey. Recommended readings. Scrum. The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time by Jeff Sutherland, one of Scrum's co-creators. Succeeding with Agile by Mike Cohn. User Stories Applied by Mike Cohn, a deep dive into user stories. Team Topologies by Matthew Skelton and Manuel Pais, for understanding team structures in complex organizations. Online resources. Many reputable websites offer articles, blogs, and videos on Scrum and Agile. Look for resources from organizations like Scrum.org, Scrum Alliance, Agile Alliance, and prominent Agile coaches. Community and meetups. Few things accelerate learning as much as connecting with others. Look for local Agile or Scrum meetups, attend conferences, or join online forums. Sharing experiences, asking questions, and listening to others' challenges and successes is invaluable. Coaches and mentors. If possible, seek guidance from experienced Scrum masters or Agile coaches. Their practical wisdom can help you navigate complex situations and accelerate your learning. 11.6 Embrace the journey. Scrum is not a destination, but a journey. It will challenge you, expose uncomfortable truths, and push you to grow. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to embrace change, even when it's difficult. The ultimate reward is not just about delivering products faster or more efficiently. It's about building highly effective, engaged teams that love what they do. It's about creating an organization that is resilient, adaptable, and truly capable of delivering exceptional value in an ever-changing world. So take a deep breath, start small, learn, adapt, and enjoy the ride. Your Scrum journey has just begun.